obviously will not get very far. My overall goal is to get the housing bill out the Tuesday we get back and have 3 more working days to button this up to meet the crossover deadline. I think there may be other options if we run into deadline problems, but I'm hoping we can pull that off. So we have with us Damian, Rebecca. We have all of Legislative Council here. I'm sorry. I guess that's what happens with an omnibus bill. So let's plow right ahead.
Do you want us working, Mr. Chair, from the summary that has been developed?
I do. I think the summary is better than the detailed language. And on this section 1, I'll take the prerogative of saying we've beaten this one to death. I think we know what's in there. I don't think there's any objections from the committee. If on your review over the break you have any, you can certainly let me know. But I think we've pretty much massaged that to death, unless David has any questions for us on section 1.
May I just say something, Mr. Chair, about this section? Yesterday, I got a parcel in the mail out of the blue of the 2nd edition of John O'Dwynn's book on distributed teams. And as you'll all recall, John O'Dwynn was one of our key witnesses in the early days of developing this, our initial remote worker bill. And it was just great. And I look forward to sharing it with you all when we're together again. But he makes a lot of Vermont's work.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, section 1B. David, you want to describe this to us from the chart? I think it's yours.
Yeah. Well, this is the department's proposal to spend money and coordinate basically regional relocation efforts. So my understanding is that they would accept competitive proposals and then grant monies out to regional partners who would try to tie into the state and regional recruitment efforts that we have on the books and connect employees with employers.
Does this, is this the Heather
Yes.
Pelham money
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
What is it total? I'm looking at the chart, not the bill, but
I think
It's
this one,
over $8 million, about $2 million a year, just over $2 million a year, as I recall.
yeah, it's 8.64, I believe.
Yeah.
and that's all for this.
Yes.
Coordinate. It doesn't have anything to do with her marketing budget at all.
It's marketing the opportunity, and in part, yes, it's marketing this program.
Okay.
And working on, I'd have to pull it up. Sadly, I can't do this chart and that, but I can try if you're interested. I'll go pull it up.
Well, we don't have to do it now, but I mean, I think what we're doing in this bill is this bill obviously will make a serious stop in appropriations. And this will be our recommendations for how much money to put into these various programs. Right now, we haven't had any discussion yet, but right now we're just using what the administration's proposal for the numbers are. That's my understanding. I remember it being broken up into 2 parts that totaled 8.4 million or something like that.
Well, the breakouts for this, for the marketing components, are down in section 20 appropriations.
Okay.
But ultimately, you know, obviously you have the prerogative of deciding how this all gets allocated, whether it's base,
Right.
whether it's additional targeted activities, how it relates to the provisions of the bill. So right now there's placeholder money and language in section 20 that relate to this and other marketing.
Thank you for that. Is this all general fund as far as you know?
Right now it is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, now we're going to move on to the capital investment program. That was quite a day yesterday on this program.
Of the liveliest conversation we've had in quite a while.
Yes. So we won't go too deep in this realm, but I would like for people to consider the idea I put on paper, and I think it's I like to think of it as a compromise of not us like trying to define all the details of the program, but for the party sort of to JFO to work with the department to see what's reasonable. And then, as we did last year, um, I'm trying to remember I guess it was this program. Yeah, we got more involved than my language here says. Uh, David, could you just go through what my language says? I think it's one paragraph. Maybe you could just read it.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as I get to it, I was looking at that money. It's section 2A, and it mirrors the language that's in the VITA forgivable loan program as well. So it says that in this case, ACCD shall consult with Joint Fiscal Office to develop guidelines for the program and shall submit the proposed guidelines to JFC prior to accepting applications or awarding grants to the program. And then B, it says when considering whether and how to prioritize economic sectors that have suffered harm due to COVID-19, agency may designate one or more sectors for priority consideration through the program, provided it demonstrates that such sector has experienced above average economic harm and therefore requires additional assistance.
Okay, so what I was trying to do there in the last part was especially towards the arts community and the lodging community to allow them to carve out a certain amount of the money that they get to highlight those programs. Both of those industries had come in and wanted separate pots of money, and I didn't want to go there establishing separate programs, but at least give them a leg up, either carve out a preferential treatment, but the details of which would be decided by consultation between JFO and ACCD. I think we heard some differing schools of thoughts on Friday. I'm not saying Tom Cavett represents JFO's position, but it is a sort of a successor light to what we did with this program last year. And it delegates some of the decision making that I guess this body could do, but says we want some guardrails on the program. So I wanted to have, I don't know if there's any initial reactions to that or people want to think about that. And we're going to have a lot more discussion the week we get back on that, but that was my best thinking of how to crack this nut.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to think about it. I'd actually like, one of the problems with our life at the moment is how little actual quiet time to think about things we have during the course of a Zoom week, which I'm not sure everybody appreciates. And I would like to figure out how we can fully incorporate some of the very focused creative sector proposals into what we have here, because I think that many of their and both the hospitality, special events, and creative sector needs can be met through both this capital investment grant program and through our VITA forgivable loan program. I think a lot of the recovery and further investment can be covered there, but there are some other pieces that were proposed that I'd like to make sure that we can fit in some other ways in what we're doing already in this bill, or expanding on sections of the bill that they would fit. And I just haven't had the time to do that work, but I would like to if we,
Well, I think we all could appreciate that frustration. Oof.
Yeah.
Just
So
go from meeting to meeting to meeting. It's incredible.
yeah, and Zoom allows us to do that in a blink because you don't need 5 minutes to walk down the hall. So it's just astonishing how little time to do the substantive work sometimes that we need other than when you're here. So anyway.
So we have, and the other things we have with a lot of these programs is the allocation of funds and the recommendation we're going to make to appropriations on that. I'm still trying to get the appropriations committee, like they did last year, to give us a number that they'd like us to stay within, and then we could know what we're dealing with. And
Well,
it's not a given. Everybody should know this by now. Anybody who's been in this building, that we just have to accept as a given what the governor suggests for each program. It may be that we are somehow tied to the overall budget number, but there are moving parts within that number. So I would like to, I mean, I'll obviously what we hear from appropriations will be important, but I'm expecting that the number that they give us will probably be the number that the governor has suggested, and then we have to decide how to allocate within that number. So,
Mr. Chair, along with this summary chart, I think it would be great for next week if we develop a money chart too, with all the embedded asks, and what we end up deciding to fund. I think we need to do that. I'm happy to work on that because
that's a great idea. Yep. Because I mean, there are numbers in this chart, but you have to dig to find them. So
yeah, and the same with the housing bill. I think we should have a money chart also, because it's we're going to have to make decisions about what we want to allocate versus what the ask is, and so we need to do that.
I think both, just so I can say, I think what I try to do in these charts is stay within the governor's allocation. I think we've successfully done that on the housing piece. I don't know if it's as true on this piece. So
section 4, I think we're at after the capital investment piece.
Yep. This is the economic recovery.
So to this point, I think in a way, I think what we're doing, what we have to decide is if we want to take all the economic recovery grant money that's left, the 26 million that is at the department, and put it all into the VITA forgivable loan program, which we could do. I mean, I think that's one option, but I don't hear a path forward on the new criterion, creating up a new program at ACCD. I think that we have shifted from that.
Yes.
And that really here under economic recovery, we should retitle it and call it economic recovery and replace it with the VITA proposal at the moment, because at this point, I don't hear another proposal of how to get money out the door fast to businesses, these sectors that we've identified that still are in need. So I would boldly propose we do that.
I would agree with that. I think the administration's proposal is to take the $26 million and add it to the capital investment.
Right. Because of and we could do that. I wasn't thinking of the actual total number. I was just thinking of the program called Economic Recovery Grants. I would retitle it called Economic Recovery and put in the VITA forgivable loan program as the way we're going to address that need. And then we need, again, on the money chart, the ask is 26, the money that's there is 26. Do we put 15 into the forgivable loan program and 11 into CIP? That's the decision we're going to have to make.
Right. Yep. Okay. We're just doing a quick review. I think this will be our last section, project-based TIFs. I think that's Becky Wasserman's section. Is there any changes that we should be aware of from what we passed out of the Senate in section 6 to 6E?
Becky Wasserman, Legislative Counsel. I think it is primarily the same. I think the changes, I don't know if you just want me to summarize them or point to the language, but the main changes are the number of TIFs that can be approved. So it was changed to a total of 4, with not more than 1 per municipality. And I believe it had been 10 with not more than 3 per year.
And now it's
So
up to 4 per year.
No,
for
the first one, first one for the regular TIFs, the 10 is for the mini TIFs, right?
yeah, I'm just talking about the project-based TIFs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
good.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
All right. So yeah, I mean, that's what would passed out of the full Senate, came out of finance that way. I remember there was a lot of negotiations in finance on that. So I don't think we need to spend much
Yep.
time on that because we're just trying to get that passed once again. I do think that I will flag something. I did get a letter, and I don't know if you got a copy of it or anybody else got a copy, Becky, or from, I think, the new director of VEPSI. And there was some changes that she wanted us to think about for the future, but I don't think she was asking for specific changes to the bill. But I'll get you a copy of that letter I did get from the new person.
Mr. Chair, it's 11:28. I hate
No,
to,
and I am gonna, that's where I am gonna stop. Right there. I said this will be the last section. So we're through the first, at least touching the first page of the chart. And I apologize for all the people who were listening in and didn't get the chance to get to your sections, but that's not unusual. So thank you all very much for being here, and we'll see some of you on the floor.